Hello, this is Rita Faulkner from the Intensive Language Institute. I'm going to give a little talk or lecture about the best system, single parenthood. That's with a question mark. In the text, Hot Topics, in the article, Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow? Serial monogamists say maybe. Robin Baker, a researcher on human sexual behavior, is quoted as saying, in the future, single-parent families will be normal. Moreover, Baker is not worried about it. He believes single parenthood will become the best system for raising children in the 21st century. This is in Pavlik, 2006, page 69. I was surprised by Baker's enthusiasm for single-parent families, so I did a little research on the topic. I found that in their current form, such families have a number of negative effects on children's lives. Yet in the future, there may be fewer negative effects. So what are single-parent families? According to the entry on the topic in the Gale Encyclopedia of Children's Health, they are families with children under age 18, headed by a parent who is widowed, their husband or wife is dead, or divorced and not remarried, or a parent who is never married. This is in Davidson, 2006, page 1667. The entry to the encyclopedia offers an opposing viewpoint to Baker's at the beginning of the 21st century. First, let's look at single parenthood in the past. The number of one-parent families in the United States has risen a great deal since 1950. About 11% of children were living in single-parent families in 1970. However, at that time, the 1970s, more and more people began getting divorced. As a result, the number of single-parent households increased rapidly. The highest number of divorces was in the 1980s. The number started to go down a bit in the 1990s. While in 1996, 31% of children lived in single-parent families, the number was 28% in 2002. In fact, the 2002 U.S. Census found that about 20 million children, or more than 1/4 of children in the U.S., lived in single-parent families. Again, this is Davidson. Nonetheless, the major reason for single-parent families in the 2000s is not the same as in 1950. At that time, most single-parent families were the result of the death of the father or mother. In contrast, in the 1970s and 80s, divorce was what created single-parent families. In the early 21st century, larger and larger numbers of single parents had never been married. Yet this fact does not mean that these single parents were not living with an adult partner, even with the father or mother of their child to whom they were not married. Generally, a single-parent family is made up of a mother and children to which she gave birth. According to Davidson, in the encyclopedia article, in 2002, 16.5 million, or 23%, of all children in the U.S. were living with their single mother. However, those children, in 11% of the cases, lived in homes with two adults who were not married. In addition to the increase in single mothers, there has also been a sizable increase in households headed by single fathers since the early 1980s. While in 1970, only 1% of children below the age of 18 were living with a single father, in 2002, the number had climbed to 5%. Single fathers, however, are much more likely to be sharing their home with an adult to whom they are not married than single mothers. All of this is from Davidson, 2006. Adoption is another reason for why there are so many single-parent families in the United States. The number of single people adopting children has risen considerably. In the 1980s alone, the rate went from 8% to 34%, and that last number is nearly the same at the beginning of the 21st century. Thus, it is safe to say that the structure of single-parent households are not all the same. Those are some statistics about single-parent families and their history. How, then, are these children doing as compared to children of two-parent families? Davidson claims that they face special challenges or problems. The first one is economic. That's economic. Single-parent households tend to be poorer than those with two parents. Poverty and low income are not the only difficulties that these children encounter, but many of these problems are also related to poor economic situations. Children of single-parent families often experience the following problems or difficulties: lower educational achievement or level, more likely to become teenage parents, more frequently misuse drugs and alcohol. More frequent difficulties are they are twice as likely to go to jail, 4 times as likely to need help for emotional and behavioral problems, twice as likely to get divorced in adulthood. And this list of problems faced has been shortened for this talk, so that's only a part of the problems listed in Davidson. An article by a Croatian research team supports some of these claims. It states that adolescents going to prison was likely related to having parents who did not live together. On the other hand, Tamerlan Drummond, in an article in the Time magazine entitled Mom on Her Own, about the growing trend in unmarried mothers, especially among women with high-paying jobs, cites a Cornell University study which argues that single parenthood does not mean that children will have problems in school. A professor quoted in the same article, Henry Ricciuti, found that the mother's educational level and ability, rather than not having a father in the home, are the most important factors in whether a child is ready to learn in school. Ricciuti believes that single parenthood alone should not be seen as hurting a child or damaging that child's chances. So, to conclude, single-parent families are not all alike. There are parents whose partners have died, divorced parents, and parents who have never married, as well as adoptive parents. Davidson, while pointing out the economic and emotional difficulties children without two real parents may encounter or may face, writes, children from single-parent families can grow up doing well in school and maintaining healthy behaviors and relationships. Given this information, which runs from the 1950s to the beginning of the 21st century, do you agree with Baker in the Hot Topics article that single parenthood will become the best system for raising children in the 21st century? Why or why not? These are my references. Thank you for your attention.